Look, you can ask him. You can ask him what's your ethnicity. Well, see, the only way they can determine our race is hair. They got us right here. I say when they. Oh yes, right. Oh yes. Oh, I ain't no doubt about that.
Oh, I still like to get a gift. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He came in one day.
Go fix it.
Oh, Brian.
Hey, Levon. Excuse me, Levon. Levon. Levon.
Bet. I just sent you something.
All right, I'll look. To my city email?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let me ask Levon if he's gonna. Levon, excuse me. Are you gonna do anything with planning commission? And, I mean, the UDC codes?
Oh, yes,
Planning
ma'am.
committee?
What?
Okay, good. Gonna do that today? Good deal.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Doc, check your email. Check your email. CJ.
It didn't come to me.
I'll
Did you
send
say
it.
you sent to me?
Yeah.
It was City of Mobile, not my Gmail. People are confusing my personal. Look, you can see.
I
Everybody.
sent it to all council members.
Try again to me.
The ordinance being in
Well,
place.
I know what I'll do.
You want me to?
Hard to keep your. So straight.
Okay, what about Council 6?
Yeah, that should work. That should get to me at City of
Okay.
Mobile. Yeah.
Gone. It's gone. Did you get yours? CJ?
Maybe it's just not working in here now. You get it. Oh wait, it just came on. Yes, I got it.
Lamb.
CJ, what about Council 3?
Beth, let me ask you a question.
Put my mask on.
You got mine on too.
Non-public services. You do an ad hoc one. Oh, it's not.
Come on, please.
UDC. Would be strictly working with the new codes as opposed to public services, which, I mean, the department's under, it's fine too. I mean, who's interested in name kind issues? I mean, all of them. You have to realize. Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to start. Yeah, ready, Madam City Clerk?
They stayed outside. Just stayed out. This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, June the 9th. Please stand for our invocation led by Pastor Alan Eldridge, Regency Church of Christ, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. For the light of a new day, we thank our Heavenly Father. And Father, three things I pray: to see more clearly, to love more dearly, and to follow more nearly. Our Heavenly Father, I pray that you will help us and the City Council to see clearly the challenges that are before them and grant them wisdom and courage to meet the challenges. May our love for you and for one another be genuine and sincere. And may we follow more nearly those principles of integrity, hard work, justice, and compassion. Thank you for those who lead our city. Help all of us to realize the importance of every individual in the successful functioning of our city. We pray for peace in our city and in our world. Continue to watch over our servicemen and women, our police departments, our fire departments, and I pray that you will bring comfort to those who have lost loved ones. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, President Manzi.
Here.
Vice President Small.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must clearly state for the record both your name and your address. And a person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office no later than 2 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting in which you'd like to speak. The subject matter must be pertinent to City of Mobile business. And a person who hadn't given that proper notice to the clerk's office will not be allowed to address the council. Speakers are granted 5 minutes. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates all of your time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to me. I serve as chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Those are the rules for this particular meeting, and thank you for your interest in your municipal government.
Approve minutes of June 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
And properly moved and seconded in the discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Communications from the mayor's office.
Mr. President, the mayor is traveling and will be unable to attend. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Adoption of the agenda.
Second.
And properly moved and second. Any discussion? Ms. Williams?
I would like to ask for a amendment to the agenda in bringing forth the resolution concerning the Mims Park renovations, Mims Park baseball field renovations, which is, I'm looking,
21402.
21402, to the beginning of the agenda, just under, or just above appeals, please.
Second.
Probably moved and second in the discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
CIP resolutions held over. 21402, authorized contract with Westphalia for Mims Park Synthetic Turf Athletic Field A.
So moved.
Second?
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
This is the first major sports field project that I have done since CIP began. I did so because I knew that there were drainage projects that have been haunting neighborhoods and our residents for such a long time, and we had a lot of road work to do, as well as infrastructure that pertain to streets and sidewalks. But it was time this year, in the 2020 CIP, to do something about Mims Park, what I call the big field, the one that is shared by Babe Ruth, that is 13-year-olds and above, as well as all the gentlemen that participate in baseball at Murphy High School. So it is really a monumental project. It'll be the first synthetic baseball field in our city, and hopefully it will be one of those that will draw those big tournaments that we've been talking about for so long that we have unable to host because of the amount of rain that we received during those seasons. So it's really an honor for me to be here today to present it, but also to have the Murphy High School baseball coach, Mike Smith, and one of his players, and I can't recognize him from there. I'm probably going to get embarrassed because I've probably coached him at some point or other. So if I could ask them to go up to the mic, first of all, at the top, introduce themselves, and then come down for a photograph once we have voted, if we'll just go to a vote while they're doing that. Can we go ahead and get the vote, Mr. President? If
Sure.
somebody else has something to say.
Is there any further discussion?
We won't hear from them.
Well, we vote, then do we?
I'm ready to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes.
Do well, Coach.
First, I want to say thank you, Councilman Williams and the City Council, for making this possible. I know we're very excited for the school system, Murphy High School, to be able to work in partnership for us to be able to play at a facility. And with this magnitude and the opportunities that will come for this new venture they're doing, I know the kids are very excited. I haven't said anything to him, so this is the first he's known about it. So he's
Wow.
probably beyond words excited. He's a senior. This is Napoleon Alston. He is working towards earning a scholarship in college, and so he has been working very diligently on his own during this time off to prepare himself. So he is very excited for a final senior year at Murphy High School and be able to play at Mims Park. So again, I want to say thank you.
Now let's hear from Napoleon. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Thank you for the whole city council. This is a very exciting moment for me in my last year with Murphy Panthers and this exceptional coach, Mike Smith. And I'm above all words, and I am speechless for this opportunity I have to play on this facility. Thank you.
Awesome. Come on
All
down.
right.
If y'all come down by the podium. They're just going to walk down by the podium. D, you got a phone or somebody? Oh, Mr. Madam Clerk, that'd be great. I guess I could.
Yeah.
Clerk's changing things.
Oh, you wrong.
Let me get out y'all's picture. Hey, I was trying to. No, you. Oh, well. I thought. Well, that's why we moved the motion. Okay. Oh, okay. I got you. All right.
See that? A drunk will come out.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
No problem at all.
Appeal, we have request for a waiver of the noise ordinance on June 13th at Joe Bailey Park and at the corner of Halls Mill Road and McVeigh Drive, July 12th at Langham Park Pavilion, July the 3rd at I-10 Industrial Parkway North, and June 13th on Queensboro Court.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to declare the structures at 1512 Wellington Street, 450 McCarley Street, 213 First Street, 2715 Betby Street, and 2665 Betby Street public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak during this particular public hearing? Any of these public hearings?
Deidre just went out to check.
The things got a little changed up.
You could, is there anyone here that would like to speak on any of the agenda items that the city clerk just referenced during these public hearings?
No,
No.
none.
No? Yeah, okay. Then the public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reggie Hill.
Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
I rise today to discuss a few matters that are on today's agenda as well to continue my petition from last week. So I'll get the first few questions out of the way, and hopefully somebody can respond with those in time. I'll send them over to the city's clerk office. With ACDC, the transfer of the city transfer of property to the city. Can someone please verify the value of the property that's being transferred? As well, will ACDC or the city operate the Welcome Center? That's the primary question I want to ask. This will be going into the community, and the original Restore Act was granted to the ACDC. And now we're seeing now with these resources are being appropriated through the city funding. And so there's no clarity on how that's going to be functioning in the near future, and I would love to have someone to specify that for me, please.
Colonel DeLapp?
Do you want me to respond now or in writing later? Or?
Sure, you could respond.
Real quickly, just generically, the Restore grant was not to ACDC. As a matter of fact, it specifically could not go to ACDC. It has to go to a municipality or a state entity. That's just the federal regulations. In terms of who will run it, it likely will not the city running the Welcome Center, but the property, because it has to be owned and it will be constructed by a state or municipal entity, will be built, and that's why the transfer, if there ever the transfer of the property has to go from ACDC to the city for us to be able to retain that. That's just part of the federal requirements for the grant.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Last week, I was pleased to hear that the chairman of the Public Safety Committee would be having a meeting in regards to these issues that we're facing within the city of Mobile. I would like to offer this idea because I'm not sure where the advisory council is going to pursue, because we know that there are some within some of the district's representatives as to continuing this group. I would like to offer the idea, which was the culmination of my presentation last week, that we have a legal policy and advisory commission, and that it be consisting of 15 members, 7 that would be appointed by the city council, 1 by the mayor, and then 7 that would be chosen from the citizens of the city. And we basically create solutions to mend relations between the communities and law enforcement officers and the agencies. We would serve as an independent investigatory unit dealing with matters of proclaimed injustice by the citizens. I don't understand how we can have an internal affairs division to investigate matters within the public, and the public doesn't have a right to understand what is going on in that system, and that decision is being made in-house, and it turns around and affects the people here. So I'll send the rest of that because I know my time is winding, so I can continue what I wanted to say from last week. With a state that rushed so quickly to reopening businesses before opening places of worship, I should have known that the first city in our state would definitely not welcome a citizen coming down and telling people how God is not pleased. And it's unfortunate that the criticisms that are in this arena, week after week, do not reflect measures necessary for improving the quality of life. I don't understand how the First Amendment, which allows an individual to come down and present to this body, can be misused in that manner. So this week, because I understand that people might not have the same vigor as me, you might not have the same faith level as me, you might not have the same courage as me, you might not have the same tenacity as me, so you may not be able to understand the enthusiasm that I present when it's matters that have been going on for years. Earlier today, I sent a video over to the Rules Committee chairman. I am asking that he will share that with each of you so you can understand this. Though this issue right now was presented from our president and vice president as being something national, I've been talking about these same things for 4 years about Mobile, the city of Mobile. I have time to be concerned with those extra things going on. My concentration here in this place. So before we mislead the public with these statements, I hope that we will understand what's really going on. We just looked at last month with homicides. We can look back to just a couple of months ago, a police officer choking an individual, now he's back on the force. That didn't happen in Minneapolis. That happened in Mobile. So I'll continue my remarks later. I don't want this to get out of hand because a lot of people don't understand the people coming down and speaking. So I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Madam City Clerk.
Velma Dale Jackson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You ready? You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Velma Dale Jackson, 1552 J Drive, Mobile, Alabama, 36605. God told Abraham that if he could find 10 righteous men, he would not destroy the city. God told me if I could find one leader that would pray. I found that leader. He is your mayor, Mayor Samuel Stimpson. God is going to speak to the nation from Mobile, Alabama. I'll do the speaking, and you send out the message. The first message is to our leaders. To all you leaders who use your authority to close down the churches because you were concerned about saving lives. God says you use the same authority to close down every abortion clinic in the nation. I repeat, to all you listeners who use your authority to close down the churches because you were concerned about saving lives, God says use that same authority to close down every abortion clinic in this nation. You have 1 week. You're not only taking the lives of innocent babies, but you are also destroying the lives of the mothers. If those babies are not people in their mother's womb, then who are we? The second message is to our pastors. God says to you, who walked away from his church without even an argument, God says, you mega ministers, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, and the rest of you, take all your mega members and go to every abortion clinic in your areas and shelter in place until they are closed and there's no one left in the building. I repeat, God says you mega ministers, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, and all the rest of you, take all your mega members and go to every abortion clinic in your areas and shelter in place till they are closed and there's no one left in the building. Do you know how many people died for your religious freedom, including Jesus? The last message is to the pro-lifers. God said, make sure these so-called Christians have food and water once a day. God says your efforts were not in vain. I repeat, to all pro-lifers, God said, make sure these all Christians have food and water once a day. Your efforts were not in vain. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Now let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Amen. Thank y'all for letting me get through that.
All right, Mr. President.
Is,
Any comments?
anyone, is there anything anyone would like to say with Ms. Jackson? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Rachel Fairley.
Let me say it. The coronavirus is the evil's attempt to take over the nation. The protests are to distract from the real problem. God bless you.
Rachel Fairley.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Fairley. I would first like to thank you guys for giving me a moment to talk this morning. This is not something that I do often, so please bear with me as I try to get my words out.
Ms. Fairley.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us your name and address, please?
Oh, yes. My name is Rachel Fairley, and my address is 3920 Berwyn Drive South, apartment 116, Mobile, Alabama 36609.
Thank you.
Okay.
You may continue.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and forth trying to figure out something to write down to say, and I just simply could not write down anything to say. So hopefully you guys can understand what I'm saying as I speak from my heart to you guys right now. I grew up in Mobile. I have never been arrested. I don't have a criminal record. I try to stay on the straight and narrow, but today I'm here to speak for other people who I know, friends, family, and associates who have unfortunately been arrested or come into contact with anything of that nature. For years, I have been hearing about the conditions in the Metro Jail. To sum it up, basically, people are being treated inhumanely, in my opinion. I hear stories of people having to drink shower water, no place to sleep, sleeping on the floors, no blankets, nothing. there's people getting arrested for misdemeanors and small issues, and I'm sure some of you might be aware of the situation that happened last week where they were holding people in jail because their computer systems were down. There was something on the news where the sheriff spoke, and he said that the delay was because of them having to do everything manually, but I am here today to tell you that that is not what was going on. I do have 2 associates, one who you see standing to the left of me, that were arrested on Sunday during the airport incident. When we were calling, trying to bail them out and to see what was going on, the women or employees at the jail were simply telling us nobody was getting out of jail, the systems are down, there's nothing we can do, nobody's getting out. So this went on for 2 days. On the second day, when they, it was hard to even get in contact with them on the phone. I reached out to some bail bondsmen. They said that they had never seen anything like that, and that the jail was telling them that nobody was getting out. So I reached out to my mother-in-law, who reached out to a councilman, and he reached out to a judge, and it was after the judge gave an order to have said people released that they decided that they could do paperwork and do everything manually. I say that to say that the problem was never with the systems being down, which, by the way, they should have a protocol put in place for when the system crashes, that people can still get out of jail in a timely manner in order to not violate their right to have a bond and be released within 72 hours. But anyway, the women were just rude, incompassionate, and for lack of better words, didn't want to do their jobs. I'm not sure if you guys would be the one to address the problem or who I talk to, but I know that this is somewhere where the citizens are supposed to come and let you guys know what's going on in the city. I feel like this pertains to everyone's district because everyone from each district goes to that jail. So they're impeding on everyone's rights. Somebody definitely needs to address whoever is in charge. I don't know if that's Sheriff Cochran, but if our taxpayer dollars do help keep the jail functioning, I would like it to, function on more of a humane scale. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. President.
Ms. Farrell, hold 1 second.
Ms.
Yes.
Farley.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming down and bringing those issues, addressing those issues.
Yes, sir.
You stated that you did not know, where to go. Have you all visited the county commission?
No, sir, I have not.
Because they fund, the jails. We pay rent towards the jail, but they originally just fund the jail and stuff. So that I think that's one place that you probably need to also visit also and let your voice be heard.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I definitely will be getting in contact with them.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I would like
Ms.
to,
Richardson.
Mr. President, that's you can write your council member about what happened, what you know about happening at the jail, and ask your council member to take that up with the sheriff for you. We can always advocate. I'll advocate all the way up to the federal level for people, and I've been very successful with that. So I would, if you can, if you don't want to do that, you can write me.
Oh, yes, and I do want to thank you personally, Mr. Richardson, for your actions in helping have the people released from jail. That is the councilman that I reached out to who did help, got the judge's order to have them released from prison. So thank you, Councilman Richardson. Thank you, sir. I'm not familiar with you guys' names. This is not something that I do. It's something that I do want to start getting more familiar with, who each of you are and what you guys are capable of doing and how you're able to help each citizen. I guess that's something that we can talk about on another day.
I would just like to make this known. On the 25th, I think 13 people were arrested by the city of Mobile.
Yes, sir.
And put in Metro jail. I had some of the parents contact me when they went down to pick up their loved ones, they could get them out of jail. So what I did, when I learned that, I contacted the presiding judge, and I asked the presiding judge whether or not a magistrate had they been before a magistrate, and if so, what was the results? He said they have all been before the magistrate, and the magistrate has sent orders over to the Metro jail for the sheriff to let them out on bond. And then it'll be up to each individual to get a bondsman to go over there and get out. I understand they did just that. They got them a bondsman, and the bondsman went over there, and they were told, we're not letting nobody out. Our machines down, and I don't know when we'll let them out. That was Sunday. They was in Sunday, they was in Monday, they was in Tuesday, and they let them out on Wednesday. My point is this: machine was broken before they were arrested. So you can't be waiting on the computer to pull them up, because their record is not in the machine. So what did you do before you had a computer? What's wrong with you writing all? If they went before a magistrate, that means the court has the record of all of them. You can't go before the judge unless your record is there too. So if the magistrate has their records, surely the jail has their records. So all they had to do was put the information on the paper, let them out on bond. When your computer come back alive, enter the information into the computer and keep on rolling. They said, no, we want the computer up before we let them go. So I think you're going to hear before this morning is over is that some we had all of them, at least one of them was let out before Wednesday. So they could have let, if they let one out before Wednesday, they could have let the rest of them out before Wednesday too.
Any further discussion? Thank you again, Ms. Fowler, for coming down.
Okay, thank you. And I'd also like to, I just would like to ask, what is the lower panel's position here? I'm just curious.
Here or here?
The whole line, not each individual person, but what?
Well, the persons that are sitting here, this is our city clerk, the council attorney, our assistant city clerk, and this is Ms. Lana. I forget her, she has a new position, but she works with the city clerk's office. Then we have Colonel DeLapp, he's the executive director of Public Works. Mr. Ricardo Woods is our city attorney. And then you have Mr. Paul Wesch, who is the interim chief of staff and city's finance director.
Okay.
And then the four of us are members of the council, with the absence of Mr. Williams, and then there are three. We're kind of spread out due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. Well, thank you for you guys' attention. And I do urge everyone to pay attention to what each citizen is saying today. I know we have phones and everything and other business to tend to, but I think the business that's being tended to here in this room is very important today. So again, thank you guys for your time and attention.
Mr. President,
it's no problem.
I'd just like to say to Ms. Fairley, thank you for coming down here and telling us about this. But I do, and certainly you and anybody else are willing to talk to us all the time. But there's no one in this room today that I can see that has any control over the operations of the jail. The jail is a county facility operated by the sheriff, and so it's the county commissioners and the sheriff who have direct control over the jail.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just feel like, as you know, we're all citizens of the county, so I feel like everyone should be all ears and fully attent right now, because you never know who someone else knows or what message they can relay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christopher Reams.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You need me to state my name and address, correct, sir?
Yeah.
My name is Christopher Allen Reams. My address is 151 Yes Stroke Drive, Mobile, Alabama, 36660. I just want to start. Father, a veteran of 5 years with a year of overseas time, and a first responder on the front lines of this virus. I went down to that riot to volunteer my services as a medical provider for anyone who needs help. And in case someone gets severely hurt, I can render aid to them until a rescue gets there. I am a fire rope rescue medic at a steel mill, and I work on a rescue truck. I'm a selfless person, and I was detained on Sunday in the midst of this riot, trying to help out police officers and individuals. I have had bruises. I still have bruises. I still broke finger. All the way down my arms, down below to my knee on both sides of my body. I did not try to fight anyone, and I was asked to leave, and I attempted to do so. I realized my keys were left with my friend. I went back to go get my keys from my friend, and that is when I was detained. I didn't even have the second option to leave to get my keys. The keys were to my truck, my storage unit, my apartment, and my house. The way that I was treated, we have captured ISIS and terrorist members in a third country, and we treated them better than I got treated. I was stuck in the back of a paddy wagon for over 4 hours with the vehicle not running, and all the doors are shut. It was me and 5 others in the back of that. We asked for water. The officer, Saunders, opened the back of the door and tossed a water bottle in and said, "Now you can have water," and shut the door. I have never been so mistreated, neglected, and the selfless service that I keep giving to everyone else, and it feels like no one really cared to hear what I had to say. So I'm here today to tell you my side of the story. My charge was a failure to obey, and I spent 64 hours in jail. I'm hoping to get the word out because I am a good citizen. If you look at my record for the past 10 years since the age of 18, because I am 28 now, you'll find nothing. This has hurt me as a father because now I cannot see my son. For me to go volunteer my services to the citizens of Mobile. I'm sorry, just give me a second. I just want to bring you light that I am not a bad person. I'm actually sacrificing myself right now to tell you my story because I'm about to have to go back to work. And then when I get done with that, I gotta go to my other job and continue to fight on the front lines. Thank you all.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson?
Christopher.
Yes, sir.
I am chairman of the council's Public Safety Committee. And I certainly don't like what I heard. And what I would like for you to do is write me and state everything in writing what you just stated here, and ask me, can I have that investigated for you? And I will get with the mayor, the director of public safety, and the police chief, and I would want this investigated. I would like to have the camcorder that officer was wearing that arrested you, so we all can see his behavior. That's why people are marching and demonstrating all over this nation, because of abuse of authority. And what you're talking about is over and beyond what happened to you at the jailhouse. You're talking about what happened to you in the city before they carried you to jailhouse. I am very much concerned about that, and I would be happy to look into that.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
I do want to state this as well. I did not go, yes, I was wearing plain clothes, but I also had a bright yellow vest that had EMT on it with a medical bag, and I identified myself to multiple police officers.
Did it matter?
It did not matter.
Did
When they
not
detained me, they were trying, after they had me zip tied, they were still trying to strip the bag off of me.
Okay, so you said you ended up with a broken finger. Did you get medical treatment?
Did go to Providence, and I have not got the results.
No. The police carried you to Providence.
No, negative.
I want to know what kind of medical treatment did the sheriff, not the
did Metro
sheriff.
give me? Metro gave me 0. My hands were about 3 times the size that they are now, and they are as blue as that flag.
And you received no medical
I still have
treatment.
scabs on my wrist from where I was bleeding because they were so tight.
Good gracious alive. Okay, so we've heard testimony from a person who was not in jail saying that you all were given a cup to drink from the shower. Is that true?
Me and another person requested a cup. The COs that were there said, we'll see what we can do. When they would bring us these little meals, we had a pint apple juice cup. For us to stay hydrated in this facility, we had no choice but to reuse those little apple juice cups into shower water, because that is what is used to fill up this cooler. They give you a cooler with ice, and you have to fill it with shower water.
Wow. What day did you get out?
I got out Tuesday at approximately 11:30 because they put me in an area, and I was supposed to actually be out at around 8:30, but they forgot about me in this little holding area that is closed off from everything else.
From my understanding, did you have a bondsman?
Yes, I actually had approximately 16 people multiple times trying to get me out, going through all the bonds that were there in the area of the Metro jail, and no one could do anything.
Okay, when you got out, did you get out because a bondsman came to get you, or did you get out because you signed yourself out?
Negative, I did not sign myself out. Someone they finally were able to post bail for me, but that was after 64 hours of being in this facility.
Okay, and I believe the rest of them stayed in the facility until Wednesday, and they were still telling them on Tuesday that the computer was down. But I appreciate you coming down today, and if you would furnish me detailed information on as to what happened to you, we can get more information on that for you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Rams, thank you for coming down. Just a couple questions. when you email Councilman Richardson, please CC all of us also, please, at the same time. And
Yes,
also,
sir.
my question is that you was arrested in the day protest or the night protest? I didn't get clarification on that.
I would guess it would be the night one. It was kind of like 8-ish, so
The
it
one that
would
was
probably
on
be night,
Airport.
8 in the morning. It was the one, the airport service road right by the interstate at that sales station.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I know where
Mr. President,
Ms. Gregory?
Mr. Reams, thank you for coming. Appreciate hearing from you. That was my question also, when you were arrested, because there were different times of the protest on Sunday and locations. So your arrest was in the Airport Boulevard area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you were arrested with others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The other question I had, and I'm trying to remember, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was just really looking at the time when you were arrested, and there were 5 other people, or 4 with you, is that correct?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A total of 6 that was in that van, ma'am.
Okay. And you were at the time trying to render aid to someone when the police approached you?
Negative, no, ma'am. I actually didn't render aid to anyone, but I was there to render aid if needed.
So you were just
Just a
standing
complete
around? or-
bystander
You
with
were
a
a
full
bystander.
vest, EMT, and a full working BLS medical bag.
But you were a bystander, you weren't actively doing anything?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Our Executive Director of Public Safety is not in the audience, but I see Assistant Chief Clay Godwin over there, so he has heard what you have to say. And or anything that you send to the council members about what happened to you, we will share with the Police Department and Executive Director of Public Safety, or you can send directly to them as well.
Yes, ma'am, and is there someone outside of here who can give me the information or the direction to get the information?
Email addresses?
Yes, ma'am.
the lady raised her hand.
Yeah, Deidre, right there, she can give you email addresses.
And they all on our website, on the city website.
And yeah,
Every
they all
last
are on
person.
our website, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Can I get clarification on something? It's a little hard to hear. Did you say you were with Mobile Fire Rescue or another entity?
I work for Newman's Ambulance Service.
I see.
Along with Elite Industrial Service, which is a fire and rescue confined space hazard steel mill.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure what I heard.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions of Mr. Reeves?
I would just like to say that we appreciate you coming down and sharing your experience with us.
Yes, yes.
And I want to echo those sentiments. From all indications, you had an unfortunate experience, particularly with what your motivation was to come and try to help and be of help. So I strongly encourage you to forward that statement on to Councilman Richardson and the rest of the council so that the committee can request further details and provide some investigation relative to your experience.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a blessed day.
You do the same.
Devon Johnson.
I don't think she's here.
Sabrina Mass.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ooh. Y'all gotta forgive me. I actually had something to prepare to say, but I would like that I know Chris personally, and he's like a son to me. He's really good friends with my kids.
Miss Mass, but before you get started, if you could give us your name and address.
I'm sorry. I forget that every time.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Sabrina Mass, 1050 Belvedere Circle West.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So I personally know that his stance at being at the protest was not to go cause harm, but to be there to render aid if possible.
and that experience that he had, it has hurt me. It hurt me. His mother is not living. I'm like his mom. And anybody here that knows me and knows my children, they know I'm a very strict mother. And of everybody in Mobile, I speak out all the time for the police in Mobile. I try to educate people in Mobile about the police, try to bring bridge when there's misunderstanding. Even the city council members, Ms. Rich, Ms. Gregory, Councilman Richardson, not to dismiss you, President Manzer, Mr. Small. I've been coming down here for 13 years. You know, I have never been this emotional. So I feel like you guys know I have great respect for you guys. We may not have agreed on every topic or every subject, but we still come together at the end of the day and have respect for each other. I think that is mutual hope. So what happened to that young man, it bothers me. Because then I get caught in the middle like, now what do I say, what do I do? But I still respect you guys and know that you will come to the right conclusion when it is all said and done. Thank you. And you know, I'm going to go ahead and read this, what I had prepared. That kind of took me back a little, so excuse me. I normally don't wear glasses, thank you, President Manzi, but I'm way up here.
That's okay.
Yes. Excuse me. 15 days ago, America was yet downtrodden as the world seen, felt, and experienced another brutal, heartless murder at the hands, or should I say, knee of a police officer. What happened to protect and serve? It is a different world now. The oppressors are now seemingly being defeated. I am tired. We are tired. Even in our own city, there are injustices. Yes, protesters were arrested here in Mobile, Alabama, but does that take away their right to bond out in a timely manner, protected under our United States Constitution? Protesters were arrested on Sunday and were not released until Wednesday evening due to so-called computers being down. My justifiable belief is that had it not been for me and other citizens in the community not contacting Councilman Richardson, and he in turn contacting Judge Whitten, the protesters very well would be still sitting in Mobile County Metro Jail. The courts ordered protesters to be released. However, Sheriff Cochran refused. Perhaps if Cochran would tend to his county business and stop interfering with city business, he would have a properly ran jail, as this is an ongoing concern, not just this one incident. Thank you, Councilman Richardson, for your diligence and consistent advocacy for the people. Just know that we are wide awake and on your steadfast leadership. You may not have that presidency, but you are presidential in your stance. Thank you, Mayor Stimson, for removing that historical hurtful statue. Hopefully they will all come down. With courage comes vulnerability. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is actually the hardest. Some of us are Martin Luther King Jr., some are Malcolm X, some are Coretta Scott King and Rosa Parks. I am a mixture of all. Chief Batiste, thank you for leading and providing assistance in the protest. Thank you for listening with an open heart and an open ear to the citizens. And I cry out for help, for change. And I would like to say thank you, City Council, for listening to us, for hearing us, and for helping us. And I hope you guys have a very blessed day.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
I would like to say what I do know. I watched the video of that evening demonstration. The first demonstration took place at Cathedral Square, and then the next one took place at Mardi Gras Park. And then it was a group, and I believe, according to the chief, that the leader of that group may not even have been from the city of Mobile who took a group of people over toward I-10 to block the traffic on I-10. It got real radical over there. What I saw was Miss Sabrina Mass in between the police and the citizens saying, you don't respect these police officers? I know them all. They're doing their job. You ain't got no business on no I-10. She put herself in harm's way, shouting at those people that was trying to get on that interstate. And although they put the tear gas and all out there, I believe her effort helped to send a bunch of those kids that was following the wrong element back the other way. And I would like to commend you for your bravery. A lot of people would not have put themselves in harm's way to say anything, would have been trying to run out of there when you were up in the face of those people trying to get them to do the right thing. And I would just like to commend you for your effort right now.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President?
Yeah, I would like to say that I believe I saw the same video that Councilman Richardson had on also. In the video that I saw, she was out there between the protesters and the policemen, and she kept on telling them, you know, they ain't come here to burn down her city. And she's not going to allow them to burn down her city. So I do appreciate you so much.
Yes, sir.
And I guess it's that military background that you have.
Maybe a Texas background? No, just kidding. But thank you guys. I don't mind.
Mr. President?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before you leave us, thank you for coming. And yes, I have been able to watch you come and go with your son many times in these meetings, and appreciate you coming. And I too saw the video. And when I saw you and heard you, I said to myself, and maybe out loud too, because I was just kind of wide-eyed at that point going, way to go, Sabrina, you go. I mean, you really did put yourself in harm's way.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are so much the better for it. So thank you for coming and for being a part of that, and for really being a true voice of reason in a situation that was very, very difficult. So
yes, ma'am. I mean, I would say this a minute ago, I am a Texan. Everyone knows I'm a proud Texan, but, you know, I would stand here and say that, you know, I live in Alabama. I love Alabama. I respect Alabama. My children are here. They graduated from Davidson. I've been a part of this system for a while, and I have great respect for everyone and their opinions, you know, and I'm trying to make sure that everyone in the community knows, you know, don't look at the leaders as your enemies. Take your stance with them, you know, give them a chance to address any issue that we may have. Because if you guys don't know, you can't address it. And that's how it all gets all crazy out here. And that was a part of my whole thing in the protest, you know. Take your concerns to the city council, to the county, to the mayor. If they don't know, how can they help? But I thank you guys and appreciate, and I have great respect for each and every one of you.
Well, I want to add my sentiments too.
Yes, sir.
I saw that video as well. And you were spot on. A voice of calm, a voice of reason.
Yes, sir.
I also saw another video of you all over here at Mardi Gras Park with you and the others. Saw that video too.
Yeah,
so I just applaud the spirit that you exhibited not only that day but throughout the time that I've known you. You're right.
Yes,
we haven't always agreed.
Yes, sir.
There have been issues that you've disagreed with me on, and
yes,
you don't mind letting it be known on
yes,
Facebook and any other book.
Okay.
But I appreciate that,
yes,
because
sir,
that's the way our government should be set up. You ought to have the ability to let us know
yes,
how
sir,
you feel we're doing, so that we can have an opportunity to respond and hopefully
yes,
do better. So
yes, sir,
I hope that you continue to stay active, particularly in this environment,
yes,
because there are a lot of individuals with pent-up frustration, and they don't know how to constructively and productively let it out. And they need
yes,
persons with your experience
yes,
to help guide them and lead them so that they don't make mistakes that will cost them for years and years to come.
yes,
So
sir.
thank you for all that
Yes, sir.
you've done and all you're going to do.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Before you leave, if I could comment.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I think you really hit the nail on the head when you talked about what I believe is communication.
Yes, ma'am.
When you tell people, come down, we're very open to public dialogue.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
really the cure for a lot of things that can get better if it is given the light of day.
Yes, ma'am.
And spoken about and dealt with.
Yes.
So I thank you for your attitude and that direction. Keep up the good work.
Yes, ma'am.
And just keep encouraging people to come down so
Okay.
that we can address it and not see an inappropriate behavior pattern based on, like Councilman Manzi said, a frustrated and unable to locate how you can make things better.
Yes, ma'am.
So truly, it's really the key.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
And I'm fixing to go, but I want to say, Miss Lambert, Deidre, Miss Merchant, I didn't forget you guys either now.
Thank you.
Antonio Moore.
Good morning, City Council, Mobile
Good
City
morning.
Council. My name is Antonio Moore. My address is 6072 Highland Circle North, 36608. I think I'm under Miss Rich's district.
Correct.
And I wrote down, give me 1 second. Can you guys hear me correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right, I wrote down what I wanted to say. Ladies and gentlemen of the Mobile City Council, I come before you today to discuss what has been discussed all across the country, the need to reform policing in our community. All across the country, we've seen multiple instances of police brutality, abuse of power, and racial profiling among many police departments. We've seen young men and women have their lives taken by people who have sworn an oath to protect and serve them. Today, I stand before as a first step to try and do what I can to prevent our city from becoming the next city to experience these tragedies. I've spoken with many among the community about police reforms within the city, but before we can take any meaningful steps towards making a list of changes we would like to see, we first need to know what the policies and procedures of the Mobile Police Department are. We would need to know things like what training new officers go through and how many hours they are trained on matters of local, state, and federal law, how much training they receive on matters of de-escalation when dealing with highly combative, mentally or emotionally disturbed citizens. We would need to know what, if any, training officers have on any internal racial biases they may have and more. Outside of these things, we need to know the policies of the police department when it comes to use of force, body cams, disciplinary actions taken against officers, complaints placed against officers, what forms of remedial training officers are performed for officers, and more to correct certain unwanted behaviors from officers. Basically, without knowing any of the following things I mentioned, it would be impossible for us to express to the city what changes we truly want from our department. This is why I'm asking the City Council to grant me access to this information from the police department. I would like to study the policies, procedures, and training courses of the Mobile Police Department to identify areas where there might be room for improvement. I contacted the police department already yesterday, and was told that the department does not give out the information I requested to the public. So I'm really hoping the members here can help me with obtaining the information I need. I want the police in my community to be the best in the country, but they have a long ways to go, and it's up to all of us, the police and the citizens, to make sure they get there. If I'm able to obtain the information I seek from you, I will begin working on changes within the police department with the help police chief if he chooses to participate, negotiate with chief on what things the community would like to see, and present those changes to City Council in the future. Thank you for allowing me to speak before you, and I'll answer any questions any members may have of me.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richards?
I don't have any question, but I have a remark to make. Mr. Moore,
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
You can't hear you.
okay,
Yes.
you have, you talked about requesting information from the council?
Yes, I would like.
No, from your council, your council representative.
From Ms. Rich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Send your information to her and let her contact the police department and the mayor. This is your person right here.
Okay.
I want you to also make note that on the 14th of July, there will be a public safety committee meeting open to the public. July the 14th at 1 o'clock. And you come down and say anything you want to say, you'll have time to speak. I'll give you time to, if you got any recommendation, whatever, that would be a good time for you to come down. If you got a new path you want us to look at, to bring that with you. Any recommendation to bring, we're open to all of that. We want our police department to be the best in the nation. We have work to do. We already know that. But with the help of all our citizens and the cooperation of the police department, we can get where we want to go. And I also want to say, you mentioned racial profiling. I have an ordinance before us today. If you look at the agenda today, to remove race from all of our documents, drop the word race. Every human is in the same race, the human race. There is no race outside of the human race. We're all in the same species, Homo sapiens, 7.5 million of us. So when they talk about racial profiling, it's not but two people that have to put down the color of their skin, white and black. If you're in this country and you're from any other country, you don't have to put that down. They ain't worried about that. I'm worried about you. We're going to have to drop that. We're going to have to drop that. If a person, if they ask me what race I'm in, then I have to give some thought to that. I must have the ability to reason, to plan, to think, to answer, to speak. Can't no other animal do that but a human. You ought to know what race I'm in. I'm in the same race of all other humans. It's time for us to let that alone. I believe that in Minneapolis, Minnesota, if the officer that had his knee on the man's neck had believed that he was in his same race, I believe he would have moved his knee when the man said, "I can't breathe." It's time to end this thing about race. It's time to bring all of that to an end. America needs to drop that. And as I said at the pre-council meeting, from 1619 to 1965, my ancestors was evicted from the human race, and they was relegated to property. They were not even in the human race. They were brought back up after the end of slavery to a second-class human, and we've been fighting that ever since. And it's time to end this one nation. E pluribus unum. From many, one.
Mr. Mancy?
Ms. Rich?
Thank you. Mr. Moore, I would love to put your email address on my district newsletter, which is every Friday it goes out. And in the last newsletter, I even made a point of saying, I close my newsletter every week with saying, if I can help you with any service or advocate for you. And I particularly took the point of, if you have concerns or questions about public safety, and maybe that would have automatically, you could have written back to me. So if you will let the clerk know right there, Ms. Fairley, your email address, I'll have it added. Unless you already get it, I don't want to assume you don't get it.
Oh, I don't get it.
Okay.
And when I called to set up this meeting, this stand before you, I actually asked, could I speak with you? And I think I got the clerk. And they said, well, you can come and speak before the city council. They meet on this day. That's why I'm here. Like, I wouldn't have came.
That's wonderful that
just
you're here.
great
Like
to you.
I said, communication is key. But I would love to get you involved in the newsletter immediately, and also we can start communicating. I have a phone number for you on this form that that was filled out for you to address us on the non-agenda item. So I
Okay.
know how to reach you, and you'll be hearing from me.
Oh, okay. And would you be able to work with the police department to get the information I need?
My office is not one that gets involved in the daily operations. That's strictly administrative. But as far as getting you to the right people, I can do everything possible to make sure that you have contact information and ways to get to the correct people you want to
Information,
interface
Bess.
with.
He wants information, Bess.
Well, I can't speak for their operational procedures or why you got answers from when you made a call to get with the chief. I can just help you get to the chief if that's what you're would like to do.
Okay, I've already got in contact with the chief's office, and I told them, well, I wanted to speak to city council first before I met with the chief. So I'm gonna call them back and see can I meet with them before I come back before you, because it seems really hard. I tried looking online on the websites and through the county, through the personnel board and the department to try to find the information I need, but I couldn't find it on either of those things. So, like I said, when I was doing the speech, without us knowing what policies are in place from the department, there's no way the citizens could just say, all right, these are things that need to be changed. That's like, all right, I can come make suggestions, but I don't know if you have things on your books already for if I make a suggestion, we're already doing that, or we're not doing that, or maybe there's something we can change, and it's like say for instance, it's like use of force. Like, what's the use of force for the police officers? What things do they have to follow in their policy before they do something? Before they decide to use either your taser or your pepper spray? What do they use? Chokeholds here? How do they handcuff? What training?
I understand what you're saying, but we have a public safety director that is part of police and fire and even the animal shelter, anything that has to do with public safety, and then you have the chief of both of those departments as well. So getting to somebody that can actually get you that information, and again, their policy and procedure is operational, which isn't something that we legislate necessarily. We're legislators.
If I could just step in here for a minute,
that's
because I think it's important. Mr. Moore, as Councilwoman Rich just said, we're delighted to have you here, happy to have you here, and interested in what you're saying. But Ms. Rich has no power to direct either the chief of police or the public safety director to do anything, include give you any information.
Okay.
She can advocate for you, she can ask, she can put you in touch, but she can't tell them, give this information to Mr. Moore. She's got no authority to do that.
Okay.
Neither do I.
I guess that kind of answered my question then. So I'm guessing I would have to go through either the chief's office or the public director's office or possibly the mayor in order to get their information.
I would agree with that.
Okay. All right.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
the Zogby says the council members can request any information from any department head in City of Mobile. We can request any information from any. So, if it's information you're seeking from the police department, you can ask your council members to ask that department head to give her the information for you.
Okay. Well,
All right.
Mr. Rich, could you possibly, I'll contact your office and then I'll try to set up something with you outside of this. And then we can talk about the information I'm trying to get. And if we do come up with, like, I plan on trying to meet with the chief after I get the information to go over certain things. If I do that and we go through those things, would I have to go through you guys again in order to try to present ideas that the people come up with, or will I go through the chief's office to come up with those ideas?
We are legislators, not operators. So
All right.
legislating something is unique and different than being someone that actually operates. And if it requires legislation, then perhaps yes. But if it's an operational issue, and that's where, the line of demarcation is and the separations for right reasons.
Okay, so to be come up with certain things we want to put into law from in the city, we will come to you guys. But anything operational, go to them. So basically, I got to make 2 lists: one for laws that we would like to see, and one for procedures that we would like to see.
That's a track you could take, absolutely.
Okay.
I think it'd be helpful, Mr. Moore, if you left a copy of your address that had the questions with Ms. Farrell, so that Councilwoman Rich will at least know the information you would like to seek, and if she's in a position to make the request and ascertain that information, then be able to maybe pass it on to you. But I think within your speech, you listed about 3 or 4 things that you wanted some clarity on.
Correct.
For some further information on it. If you could leave that with Ms. Farrell, that way she'll have it, we'll all have it, and there's a Public Safety Committee meeting scheduled for July the 14th at 1 o'clock. So I'm hopeful that your schedule will allow you to come down and participate.
Would that meeting be in room, or would it be in a different room?
Right here.
It'd be in this room.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's open to the public with distancing.
Yeah, because I was like open to the public, but
Well, we're under the governor's actions.
I understand that part. Okay, and
Thank you. So,
and it's just I used to work for the sheriff's office too, so I know I got to talk to the county commission about anything county related, correct? Or you guys can't handle that at all.
right, we don't handle anything with the county, no, sir.
Okay.
Sheriff's office. We don't, no control over the sheriff's office, that's the county.
Okay, so county commission it is then about that information. All right, thank you for allowing me to speak before you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for now.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis?
I would just like to suggest to Councilman Richardson, or perhaps remind him that we have the utilities coming in at 2 o'clock on the 14th.
On
And
the
if we're going to have
22nd, I thought we
I
picked.
th- is-
Say it again, Joe.
I thought we
Is
picked
it on the
the 20.
22nd?
I think we picked the 22nd. Let me go double check. I haven't even gotten that on the board
I
yet.
checked on your Joe. It's not the same time.
Leo Alexander.
20, you mean the 22nd's a Monday? Oh, no,
So
that's
is
June.
it-
Wait a minute.
We ready? You ready?
I thought we put
July the 21st is the Tuesday.
Yeah, Beth got one at 2 o'clock on the 14th.
Okay, so there's
On
no
the
way you can have,
21st.
there's no way you can have a public safety meeting at 1 o'clock.
No, we'll do ours on the 21st. I thought that's what we picked.
I had out in my calendar on the
The
14th.
14th?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that would be bad.
Has the clerk notified any of the utilities yet?
No, we haven't.
No, you haven't?
No, we have not.
So I think we're moving that to the 21st.
Public services. Which one are we moving?
Yours, I think.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That will
So,
give.
and this would be July, correct?
Yes.
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 21st, and then also,
So the 14th is public safety at 1.
okay.
And we're going to move the utilities, the Public Services Committee,
To the 21st.
to the 21st at 2.
Yeah. Because we have to get the letters to all those utilities.
All right, I'm on.
Okay.
Madam City Clerk?
Leo Alexander. This is with regard to the ordinance to remove the word race.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
President and Council, members of the Council, County City Clerk. My name is Leo Alexander. I live at 6650 Cottage Hill Road. Zip code is 36695. First of all, I want to say I agree with removing race. However, I have deep concerns about it. If we lived in a color utopia, if we lived in a vacuum, where race didn't matter, where racism didn't factor into the equation, where systemic racism wasn't an issue, I would agree with it 100%. Removing race should be the goal for every municipality across the country. But we're not there yet. No, we can't go back now 401 years and erase the ills that have happened to Black Americans. But I think a lot of things that have happened since the Civil Rights Movement, by putting those racial classifications in place, We're there to actually close the income gap between blacks and whites. Let me give you an example here in the city of Mobile. After the Civil Rights Movement, sometime around the 1970s, the city leaders decided to make sure that black contractors and vendors got an opportunity. So what they decided is that they said that the majority race here in Mobile, the white community, would get 85% of the contracts. The minority race, were blacks at the time, would get 15% of the contracts. Now, over the years, they thought that was fair, but over the years, women got added to the 15%. Other minorities got added to the 15%. Veterans got added to the 15%. And you see, as you keep going down, and even members of our disabled community got added to the 15%. So it started off as a good move to close the income gap between the races. But now, even if you fast forward 20, 30 years later, and blacks are now the majority here in Mobile, Alabama, black contractors and vendors are still considered as minorities. They are not treated as the majority where they would have access to the 85% of the contracts. So the spirit of the law has never been enforced. So I understand the need and the desire and the goal for wanting to create a race-neutral community where race is no longer an issue. But until we achieve those income gaps, where we close the gap between blacks and whites, where we look at our children and close the academic achievement gaps between blacks and whites, we cannot sit here in all honesty and say we have done our job. Now, if we fast forward to 2420 and they look back and they say, well, what was done to close those income gaps 400 years ago? They'll look back to a time where we removed that stipulation. Even though we don't live in that vacuum or in that colorblind society. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. And I decided to come down here, and I thought it was very important that in order for us to get to those goals, that lofty goals that Dr. King talked about, being judged by your character and not the color of your skin. In order for us to get to those lofty goals, unfortunately, we must keep classifications there to protect an already marginalized community. And that's exactly what we're doing here in Mobile. That's what those classifications were for, and they need to remain there until we're able to achieve our objective. And that was closing that racial gap between income and student achievement. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Richardson?
I disagree with Mr. Alexander 100%. I disagree with him. Did you read the proposed ordinance in its entirety?
I watched the news report last night.
That's information. That's information. Because what I propose is that we drop the word race and instead add ethnicity. Ethnicity.
What's the difference?
Ethnicity has to do with my ancestors, not who I am. No, but you can't debate me. I gave you 5 minutes. Your 5 minutes up. Can't debate me. I didn't say nothing while you was talking.
Okay.
But I
will I be able to respond back?
No.
Mr. President?
No.
Unfortunately, time has elapsed, Mr. Alexander.
The time is out.
Each speaker is granted 5 minutes, and each council member is subsequently allowed to respond.
You can't debate
after the presentation.
But I would answer that. My race is the essence of who I am. To say I'm in the human race means I should be able to stand upright. I should be able to walk, talk, laugh, cry, think, plan, reason, read, write. My ethnicity has to do with where my ancestors came from. They came from Africa. I'm African American. That's where my ancestors came from. But it has nothing to do with my race. It's 7.5 million humans in the world. They're all in the same race, and how you can prove it? Because they can procreate. You can't, no animal procreate outside of their species. We are all Homo sapiens, every one of us. And like other animals, we don't come in the same colors. All dogs not the same colors, all hogs not the same colors, but the dogs based on what they can do, not how they look. I have been in this fight for 80 years, and let me let you know this. During the times where they had the color bathrooms, the color water fountain, and the color this, it wasn't aimed at all black people. People from India, as black as this telephone, could go to the white water fountain, white bathroom, live in the white community, go to the white schools, marry a white woman. It was aimed at you and me, and was based on our hair and features. And when they said black, they're not talking about all black people, talking about you, how we gonna treat you. Folks that's coming from Mexico, the same color, they don't put no black on nothing. And let me tell you another thing. Color is valueless. If I told you to bring me black, you can't bring me black by itself. You can't test it, you can't measure it. It's got to be stuck on something. If you bring me the black phone, the phone is what's important, not the color of it. If you bring me a black bag, the bag is what's important, not the color of it. My color has nothing to do with Fred Richardson. It's stuck on me. It can't make me, it can't help me to do nothing. It's a parasite. It's time to drop the color, brother. From 1619 to 1865, because of the color of my ancestors, it was banned from the human race. It was brought back up after they banned slavery. It's when you talk about racial, all you're talking about African American. There ain't nobody profiling nobody from India, Bangladesh, and none of those other countries. They're profiling you. The day has come and gone. We're all members of the same race, the human race. My great-granddaddy was a white man. I did my DNA. I'm 29% Western Europe, meaning I'm the same, in the same race as those that impregnated my great-grandmother. We're in the same race, but you can't procreate outside of your race. We're the same people. And if you want to go back to history, you go back to Genesis 2:10. It said a river left out of the Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve was and went to Ethiopia. Can't no river cross no greater body of water, meaning they were East Africans. Every human being have the same common ancestors. The day has come and gone. Race got to go. All members of the same race. Ain't no white race, black race. Don't nobody have to list the color of their skin, but white people and black people. They ain't asking nobody from Israel, Bangladesh, Hungary to list the color of their skin. They list the name of their country. It's us. That day is come and gone. And even our ancestors put it on the money. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. One nation, one people, one humanity. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson, and thank you, Mr. Alexander. For
Wasn't I supposed to get 5 minutes?
yes, sir.
I didn't get 5 minutes. I got 4. I heard the alarm go off.
Madam City Clerk,
I stopped shortly thereafter.
was it real? Well, I'm not trying to cut anything from you, Mr. Alexander. According to our assistants, so you did have 5 minutes, or you didn't?
She said you had 5 minutes.
Assistant City Clerk says you had the 5 minutes, Mr. Alexander. But welcome to sign in again next week and continue on. Or either reach out to us via email or phone call. Yes, sir. You do the same.
CIP resolutions held over. 21401, authorized contract with C. Thornton for Slava Creek drainage improvements.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daves?
This is a very important project in District 5 that's been some time in the works. This drainage ditch flows, whatever that is, east of Gregor Avenue down to Montelamar Creek. It runs down through the Landfair Yester Oaks subdivision. It's got houses that back up on both sides of them. In many places, the concrete walls of the ditch are collapsing. There's subsidence behind the walls. People's yards are falling in, being swallowed up by the suction of the water. This ditch is a big problem, and I'm happy that and hopeful that the work will start soon to repair this very important drainage ditch that's been a problem for many of the residents for some time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Daves? So properly motion and second. Again, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions held over. If there are no objections, I'll take all of these together.
I think we got, how about 21402?
We took that
Oh,
one.
that
out of
we already
order.
did that one. I'm sorry.
08403, approve item-based bid for swimming pool furniture with Leslie's Pool Mart, Inc. 08404 and 405 are approving purchase order to Florida Transcore for roadway striping, thermoplastic pre-melter trailer package, and purchase order to Sansum Equipment for 6 18-foot trash trailers. 09406, allocate stormwater fee funds to the McNally Park dredging project. 60408, approve settlement agreement and release of claims. Shantasia Bracy.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 02015.
I'd ask that this particular ordinance be assigned to the Administrative Services Committee. That's chaired by Councilwoman Gina Gregory, and she can apprise us and the committee members of the date for that meeting when she's prepared.
Yeah, Mr. President, the other members of the committee are Mr. Richardson and Mrs. Rich, so I'll need to get with them to determine when we can get together to meet. In the meantime, we received an email, or Mr. Richardson did, and he forwarded it to me from Judge Whidden, talking about some forms that are used over municipal court. So we will need to at least take a look at examples of documents that are used within the city, whether it's DBE, the police department, the court, HUD. Also, we might want to take a look, or at least have information on what the county uses. The census information would be a good example. You know, there are a lot of questions that we just want to get answered before we vote on this. And since if we can have some help getting copies of these forms, I think that would be what we will need for this committee meeting. And I'll get my colleagues to determine when a good date will be.
Sounds good.
And if I could also, we probably need to get information about grants that might,
Yeah, any documents
need
that,
racial information in order to
Mr.
pursue
President.
grants.
Mr. Richardson?
The ordinance, we're not dealing with anything outside of the city mobile form. And so if the census grant, if they require that, put it on there, it's not dealing with them. It's dealing with what we put on our form.
okay, and that's what we will discuss and look at to make sure we're all on the same page.
Right, but
That's all
I'm
we're asking
saying,
for.
but anything from the federal government, it doesn't, we're not trying to change their form. If they
No,
require.
we're not trying to change it, but as you and I have discussed, if we change these documents and it says ethnicity, then we just need to know what it is we're looking at and to try to help people, or the city, or people as they fill out documents. So we'll just look at all of this at our committee meeting and get it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ms. Gregory and Mr. Richardson. Yes, ma'am.
We did not test up to.
Yeah, said resolution, said ordinance will be laid off 1 week.
Thanks. Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, 03425 through 4414.
A motion to suspend the rules for consideration for consent resolution being introduced 03-425 through 40-414.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? I just want to comment briefly on item 31409, the first phase of the Restore Act funds going toward building the Africatown Welcome Center. This is a day that many in that particular historic community thought probably never would happen. I'm ecstatic and proud of the efforts of being exerted not only by persons in the trenches in the community each and every day, but by our city staff. Jean Green, Kara Commanders before her, Conde Lap, the great partnership we have with our county commissioner, Messiria Ludgood. This will be a first-class facility that will do the Africatown story proud, and I'm happy to be associated with it and glad that we're getting these resources in order to appropriately commemorate that unique Mobile story that is the Clotilda and the Africatown story. And so this is great news. I have probably a lot more to say about it on next week, so stay tuned. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
03425, reappoint Vanessa Davis Wright to the Police Citizens Community Relations Advisory Council. 31409, authorize acceptance of Federal Restore Act funds for the Africatown Welcome Center, Phase 1. 40, 410, 411, 412, 413, and 414 are declaring structures at 1512 Wellington Street, 450 McCarley Street, 213 First Street, 2715 Bet Bees, and 26...
I want to take that one by itself. 2715
okay.
Bet Bees.
665 Bet Bees Street, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
40413, declare the structure at 2715 Bet Bees Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Motion to hold it over 60 days.
I'm sorry, how long?
60.
Oh, 60.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly motion and second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item is held over 60 days.
CIP resolutions being introduced 21415 through 21416.
Motion to send a rule for immediate consideration of CIP resolution being introduced 21-415 and 21-416 will be laid over for 1 week.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21415, authorized contract for Christian Prius landscape architecture for Crawford Murphy Park Playground.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Just want to briefly remark that we've been working with the residents surrounding the Crawford Park over the last, I guess, 4 years since we've had CIP resources to slowly but surely add to the amenities. This plan will give us a cohesive, kind of unified vision for that park that citizens of Texas Hill and Oakley utilize, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with. We've used this firm before on several other projects, done a great in the past, and I have no doubt they'll do the same there at Crawford Murphy Park. Any further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions being introduced for the first time 01417 through 08424.
Said resolution will be laid over for 1 week.
Announcements.
Ms. Rich.
Thank you. I'll make the announcement on July 21st at 2 o'clock. The Public Services Committee meeting will meet and it will be for utilities to come down and give us updates. And I'll ask the city clerk's office to please contact all utilities to give them the time, date, and place of that meeting. Again, that will be on the 21st at 2 o'clock, and depending on what location we'll be in as that date gets closer, we'll announce that part. I'd like to remind people about the blessing bags again, or totes as they call them, for senior citizens up at the Connie Hudson Senior Center and also at the Parkway Center. This will be their last chance to get one, and it will be tomorrow, the 10th, from 10 to 11 at the Parkway Center, and from 2 to 4, I believe, at the Senior Center in West Mobile, the Connie Hudson Senior Center. And I thank everyone who pulled that together. It's been a very successful event for seniors to come out and pick up things that they need with the COVID, and it also includes a bag lunch. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Mr. Vice President?
Thank you, Mr. Manzi. Dear citizens of District 3, over the past several days, we have been experiencing a lot of rain and some flooding throughout our city. Please report in the flood, especially is the drainage stopped up on your street, to 311. Again, 3111. If you can't dial 311 from your phone, please dial 208-5311. And again, 311 is the source for all city services, from high grass and weed to drainage on your street. Thank you, Mr. President.
No problem. Ms. Gregory?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start off by, again, thanking Colonel DeLapp and his department for some work they did to help one of my constituents with a culvert and a ditch. He had contacted me, and he wrote back to me to thank me for addressing the ditch, and also to thank the people from Public Works who came out, but it truly was the people from Public Works. All I did was send the information along. And Jim and John and Tony and the entire department, thank you so much. We have another happy constituent because of the work that Public Works did and how quickly they responded to the need. So thank you all for being so professional and doing a great job, as always. I just want to make sure to pass that along. I've had some questions about resurfacing. As we all know, the CIP resurfacing program is getting ready to come up fairly quickly, starting this summer. But of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that the construction crews will show up in my district very first thing. Unfortunately, some of us have some drainage work, culvert work, things that have to be done prior to the resurfacing coming in, because the last thing we want to do is resurface a street and then come behind it and do drainage work, which just tear up the street again. So I have some substantial drainage and culvert repairs that will have to be done in the district before those resurfacing crews will actually come to District 7. I'm going to do a street or two in my district and then go across town to somebody else's district to resurface there. It just doesn't work that way. There's a lot of equipment, a lot of people, a lot of planning that has to go into this. So even though the city's district-wide resurfacing program will begin this summer, it could be well into the fall or even further out than that in some instances where the actual resurfacing will be done. I'll be sending out letters to everyone who will have a street resurfaced here, explaining what the timeline we hope will look at and also about why it might take a while to get the crews there, because I continue to get questions from people who've been waiting for a very long time to have their streets resurfaced, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands. If I've told you that your street will be resurfaced in this phase, it will be. It just may not be the first thing. We have a lot of work to be done, and I know people will be happy to see the drainage work getting done and then the resurfacing coming along behind that. Also, if you have not driven by to see Fire Station 18 there at Museum and McGregor, the brick is going up on the building. It looks fantastic. We did a lot of work on this fire station to make it more community friendly, and it will really be a great asset to our community. And as soon as we're able to, and it's open and have people come together, we'll do a great ribbon cutting there for the entire community to come out and be a part of it. That's all for now. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, no problem. Mr. Richardson?
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been a busy day. I would like to announce again that the Service Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, July the 14th at 1 p.m.
Safety. You said services.
Oh, Public Safety Committee. I'm looking at it too. Still services. The Public Safety Committee will be meeting Tuesday, July the 14th at 1 p.m. And our topic is going to be we want to review the policies of the police department, especially the policy on lethal weapons and the neck holes. And we are also asking for an update on crime and on violence in our city. I've had numerous complaints from citizens on Pine Tree Drive for over a sustained period of time regarding flooding. And this week, no, it was last week. Last week, the Public Services Department, with the help of Mrs. DeLapp here, I sent crews over there, and they were able to make permanent repairs that alleviate the flooding just in time, because as soon as they finished, the flood came. And I haven't heard one word from those citizens over there. So evidently they did an outstanding job. I commend you and those workers for coming over there and doing an outstanding job. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. There is progress all over our district. Probably would hold you another 2 hours to articulate just the level of progress being made from Africa Town to MLK, down the Bay, Oakley, Line Call, Church Street East. Citizens are able to see the tangible impact and difference being made by the CIP program. And we're working to try to make that ever more crystal clear to our residents and engaging them to make certain that we're allocating resources in the areas in which you'd like to see them allocated. We are now in the heat of things as it relates to the zoning code overhaul, known as the Unified Development Code, community's vision called Map for Mobile. And I believe there is a time period where citizens are now offering their opinions and sentiments as it relates to the proposed changes, and then ultimately it will come to this council. And I'm asking that I'm appointing rather an ad hoc committee to deal with the UDC ad hoc committee. And I'm asking that our planning commission representative, Ms. Bess Rich, would be chair, Ms. Gina Gregory, and Vice President Small would work with her. All of us will be participating because it will be an item. The last time this was overhauled was back in the 1960s, so for nearly 50, 60 years, that overhaul has been in place. So this will be generational changes that will take place, and we want to make certain what we do promotes effective growth in the city limits of the city of Mobile. And so, Ms. Ritchie, if you could coordinate with those, with our colleague to get some meetings going. We've worked with our law firm to obtain the services of Ms. Cochran and Mr. Manis to work specifically with us as relates to this project. And I'm sure that they will want to be meeting with the committee as well, and just keep us apprised of any updates as you have.
Thank you.
That concludes my announcements. And do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we would adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.